Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. I am Ron Luce, doing a little solo venture tonight. Unfortunately, our other co-hosts are busy. Joey's over on Tap Bets. If you didn't catch that tonight, be sure to go watch that again. They might be back with you tomorrow night, too, for some more golf picks as well. So be sure to tune into the On Tap Bets, guys. That's where Joey's at tonight. And Juice is moving, as some of you might have seen on Twitter tonight. He is pretty much at 4 Wins Field. So he was tied up as well. And our friend Tyler is on vacation. So I am here, me, myself, and I am Ron Luce, joining you for a quick solo recap of a winner. We get to talk about a Cubs win. Thank goodness. I was terrified there for a few minutes. Who's this guy?
Hey, surprise. What's up, Ron?
What's up, buddy?
How going on? I'm good. Are we live right now?
We are live. Hey,
what's up? What's up, listeners?
Good, man. I'm actually, hold on. I'm plugging you into my headphones here. Give me two seconds real quick.
I was surprising you.
Oh. I can't wait. I can't wait till people listen to this on a podcast because they're going to have no idea what just happened.
Yeah.
I want to make that well known. They're going to have absolutely no freaking clue, and I cannot wait because we're here. It's we now. It's not just me anymore. I'm joined by the one, the only Mr. Joey Riccota, my friend. Actually, I didn't even get into the game yet. I was just telling everybody that you were busy and plugging you guys over at On Tap Bets.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Looks like your guys' show finished up just in time to talk about a Cubs W. So I am certainly not mad about that. But my dude, my friend, let's get started with how are you? How are you tonight? Cubbies won.
Cubbies won. I was we had some of our normal listeners here at Cubbies on Tap in the comment section at On Tap Bets, and Scott Crawford and then Jack as well, maybe a couple others, and talking Cubs in the comment section. And I'm like, oh fuck, I want to watch the game. I'm watching it. I'm tracking it, but I'm like, man, we're talking bets, and I'm doing good. The show was great with Jack. I figured I'd come on here and just surprise you. So the Franimal, man. I'm good.
Franimal.
I'm good. How are you doing, Ron?
I'm good, man. Hey, I like surprises in this instance of me not having to sit here and stare at a screen and talk to myself for 30 minutes. So I appreciate it. But, dude, like you said, the Franimal was cool and tough tonight, but nonetheless, Cubs get a dub 7-5 in extras. So much to unpack in this game, Joey, and that's why I'm glad you're here, because there's too many things to unpack in a solo recap for this game, because things were going well. We had a 4-0 lead. Justin Steele fucking shoved tonight. Franmil Reyes is hitting fucking nukes into right center, and things were looking really good for a while. And then out of absolutely nowhere, in Cubs fashion, because why would we not be used to this? They piss it away. Nats tie it up.
Ugh.
It goes to extras. Cubs get the lead. A bunch of fucking stupidity and chaos in the 10th inning. Nats, do Nat things and tie it, even though Seiya makes a great throw. Willie just doesn't get the tag down. And then thank God, because you know what? In the 11th, Patty Wise and Seiya Suzuki come through in the clutch. 2 big runs. Door gets closed by Mark Leiter Jr. in the bottom of the 11th, and the Cubs come away with a W. You love to see it. So, my friend, again, a lot to unpack here, and we're going to go through as much of it as we can here on this show. But I do want to turn it over to you. Initial thoughts on this 7-5 win here for the Cubbies tonight.
Well, as we were hopping on for the live stream tonight for On Tap Bets, it was a tie game. Cubs had just given up the lead. They had just tied it up. I believe it was 7th inning, like you said. Did we jinx Rowan Wick? Is that my doing because I've been talking so highly of him lately, of how well he's been pitching? And I don't know. I don't know what happened tonight. It wasn't just him in the bullpen, but man, oh man, come on. I don't know. You're making me look bad, Rowan. I don't like that. But no, man, it's just, there was a lot in this game. Ildemaro fart gas, I believe he came through too. So
the fart gas. Of course he always comes through and pisses us off.
I don't understand it. It's like he's getting in the way of throws to second base on the base pass, or he's hitting somebody in for an RBI. I don't understand it. But nonetheless, man, it's good that they pulled out a win. They still pulled out a win. you love to see that. We talked about Seiya yesterday too. I mean, like him we want the consistency. We want to see that. Maybe things are starting to click here. Only had the one hit, but I'll take it.
Hit.
It's a big hit. That's a big hit. So if he's starting to do that in clutch moments, and I was listening to the radio a little bit earlier too, was maybe the second inning or so, and Pat was talking about how he likes the walks. Like he likes the walks from Seiya. He made a point to say that. And like whenever you hear that somebody say that who's a little bit more old school as Pat Hughes is, and I'm not saying he never liked walks or anything, but usually the old school guys they look at more like batting average and stuff. And that's one point that Pat Hughes, very knowledgeable, very with the times, legendary voice of Pat Hughes. And he was talking about how, he's still taking the walks and he's just had a great year from that perspective. So now that he's coming with the clutch hits, like this is the guy you paid for. This is the guy you brought in. It's really good stuff to see, Ron.
Yeah, and don't let, like you said, don't let the average and even the OPS, he's at in the low 700s right now. Don't let that fool you. Again, a lot of shit going on. Something that they noted during the broadcast that we can add to the list of Seiya adjustments is that he's playing in another country when his wife is back in Japan pregnant with their first child. Like, that would weigh on my mind too, coming to a new country. Like, again, just the guy's going through a ton of life transition this year. So the fact that he's still performing, admittedly, as admirably as he has, I mean, he got the runner, he got Robles at first tonight on a really heads up play on the fly out early in the game. And fuck, I'm not going to blame Willie. But maybe if Willie's a little further back on the base pad, it looks like he was a little further out, maybe didn't expect that throw to be as strong from Seiya. That throw was perfect. I mean, that was a literal perfect throw there in the 10th inning from Seiya Suzuki. So still a lot of good things happening. I absolutely agree with you. And I want to get just quickly to a couple comments here before we start to talk about certain points, Joey. As our friend Jack here, I know you guys just got done talking to Jack. Crazy game. Absolutely was a crazy game. Very entertaining game. I will say that. And that's, I think as this season rolls on, we Cubs fans just want an entertaining baseball game, and that's kind of where we're at. And then Scott Crawford here, he says, per obvious shirts, this is likely on Twitter, an update. The Cubs are now 13-10 in the same time period that the Yankees are 8-17, and Anthony Rizzo's beating the shit out of benches in the dugout now because he's pissed off. Which, in fairness, for those that are like, oh, why did he get all angry about that? I'm pretty sure that's after they dinged him for the you didn't get out of the way.
They called him out. They said he didn't get out of the way because he was ground the plate, which is kind of like.
But Rizzo always crowds the plate. Yeah, so I would have probably been a little pissed off too, especially with the Yankees kind of struggling. And admittedly, they look pedestrian, not pedestrian, but they look human again, I think is the word I'm looking for there. So, but Joey, let's touch on something early that happened in the game, right? We'll get to the bats here in a few minutes because a lot of good shit to talk about with the bats tonight. But our friend of the program, Mr. Justin Steele, with yet another quality start, his final line on the night. 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, just the 1 run. Wasn't technically earned because of his throwing error, but nonetheless, it's a run. 2 walks only for him on the night, and then 5 strikeouts. So the strikeout number a little lower than what we've seen his last 2 outings, but certainly a nice number overall. Even late in that 6th inning when he was fighting himself, it was good to see him come back, good to see him get that K to get out of the inning without any further damage. And you saw it when he came off the mound and kind of that electricity. And friend of the program, we haven't had her on the show yet, but we will at some point. Friend of the program on Twitter, Sarah Sanchez, said, reminded her a little bit of John Lester as Steele came off the mound with that kind of emotion and energy. And I really fuck with that comp. Yeah, I really fuck with that comp. Just that, again, that competitor, that bulldog edge. He's competing against himself when he's out there. He's just that type of player and that type of person where he is so uber competitive that, again, in a season, we've talked about it at length here on Cubs on Tap. In a season where, there's nothing to technically compete for as a team anymore, you're not really going to, make up this much ground this late in the game. Just to see guys go out there and still give it the effort that guys like Steele are tonight and constantly competing with themselves to get better is certainly encouraging and what you like to see. But hell of a game tonight from Steele. Would love your thoughts on Justin's outing.
I just want to say if they want to keep setting the sports books want to keep putting his strikeout prop at 4.5 or fewer for the game, before the game,
Please do.
just keep hammering it because the strikeout stuff, like we mentioned this last night when we were previewing this game, and it's really popping now. And I mean, yeah, he didn't strike out too many batters, but no earned runs. 1.07 ERA since the All-Star break. Is that good, Ron? I'm not sure. I think that's pretty good.
I think that's pretty good. At least the last time I learned how to do baseball math, that's really good.
Yeah, I mean, we aren't math guys completely, but like you can use your little ERA calculators. You can cheat a little bit, right? They have tools now where we don't actually have to add those things.
That's the thing, Joey, is people will always dog shit at me because they know what I do for a living. I'm an accountant, not a mathematician. I do everything on a calculator, or Excel does it for me, baby. I like numbers, not math. There's a big old difference.
You like doing the inputs.
Yeah. I like looking at the numbers. I don't like actually calculating the numbers. Let's just put it that way.
Same. That's same. That's like when in school, same thing. Just give me the answer, and then let me look at all of them. Yeah, man. I like what Justin Steele's bringing to the table. I mean, he obviously had one run against him, but it wasn't earned. I thought we were going to get a little bit better luck too with like him not giving up even a run, not even an earned run, but like, because the defense has kind of let him down in some of his outings this year. So,
sure.
With that said, though, you can't ask for more than what Justin Steele gave you. It sucks that the bullpen blew this game and even made this thing interesting. I'm glad that the Cubs ended up pulling it out, even though we had those stupid extra inning rules anyways in place that make it like even more interesting. Thanks, Rob Manfred. But nonetheless, a win is a win. But when you get that type of outing from Justin Steele, this should have been no problem. This should have been a cakewalk to the finish line, and you guys are just walking home. We're flying W's here in the 6th inning, right? Like that's pretty much what I was doing as this thing was 4-0 heading into, I believe, the 7th inning or whatever. So I don't know, man. There's not much more else to say about Justin Steele. That fastball slider, what he's doing to his release point, he's mirroring. His release point is so much the same. I was looking at the StatCast data on that a little bit. The release point just about on all of his pitches, really. I think he keeps it at like that 6.2 radius, whatever you want to. I'll actually put like a tweet out there or something.
At Joey Stats on Twitter. Is that what your new name's going to be here, buddy?
We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
Sabermetrics Joey.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that right now. I'll put something out there, but I just – I get nerded out sometimes. I start getting nerdy with some of these things. But
well, let me nerd out with you really quick on that before we keep talking here, because Pitching Ninja put out a really good video. We tweeted it from the Cubs on Tap account. For those that are curious too, I feel like some people might wonder this. Like, I don't tweet much during the game. Like Ron Luce doesn't tweet much. It's because I'm manning the controls on Cubs on Tap. So more often than not, it's probably me that's responding to you. Just be warned. But like, we tweeted it out from Cubs on Tap tonight, and it shows the tunneling that he has with that fastball slider. When you are showing the batter for the first, I mean, it's what, like a second and a half or whatever for the ball to reach the plate. For you have milliseconds as a hitter to digest what the baseball is doing as it comes to you. When it comes in that deep in the same spot, if you're not picking up the spin on the ball, good fucking luck, because then it's either 94 on the top corner or it's 86 sliding out from underneath you with that fastball slider combination. I agree. Super sick. So I'll nerd out there with you. I don't have all the angles and the numbers like you do in your head, but something tangible that we can all watch. Pitching.
But that's great. You're pretty much saying the exact same thing though, Ron. Like it's the tunneling because of like release points and just where it comes off of his hand. And I think that is so insane, dude. Like at one point too in the season, he had thrown, let's see, this is a tweet from Alex Fast. This is July 22nd. Justin Steele is 21 four-seamers away from history. Most four-seamers thrown without giving up a home run in the pitch tracking era. So we're talking about that slider being so freaking nasty. I mean, he's got one of the best sliders by the numbers this season. He has one of the best sliders in baseball. And that four-seamer as well was not allowing barrels, was not allowing hard contact, and not much has changed since then, right? Like we're talking about since the All-Star break, how dominant this guy has been. And not to keep the entire show on Justin Steele tonight, but friend of the program, Justin Steele, absolutely freaking deserves it, man. Like this dude went out there and he's been doing it for a while now. So if you're not really paying attention to Justin Steele right now, even if you're playing fantasy baseball, I don't know what you're doing. Like you should be picking him up. You should be watching his starts if you're a Cubs fan, because this is something tangible. This is something he's really dialing in and becoming a solid piece to this rotation. So, I mean, you absolutely love to see it. I don't know what else there is to say. He's finding himself in the big leagues.
Yeah, absolutely. And for what that's worth, I have Justin Steele in one of my fantasy leagues. He has been very good to me recently. So I'm right there with you. I think people need to start taking more notice on Justin Steele. He truly has improved over the course of the season, and I think he's just going to get better and better. So you certainly like to see that as a whole. You mentioned the bullpen. I don't want to get into the nitty gritty here. Ullman did not look good. Hysterical that he gets a hold for this game. Wick gets the blown save with giving up the 2 earned. Newcomb comes in, does his job despite the 2 walks. Rucker gets through a clean inning, and then Hughes, and Leiter down the stretch. I mean, Hughes gets the blown save technically, but he does get the W, and then Leiter gets the save. So, again, I think we all kind of knew this bullpen was going to be a little bit of a headache down the stretch, especially as guys kind of figure out their roles. I think overall Brandon Hughes has probably been the brightest spot that is remaining in this bullpen, and they're still kind of trying to see what they have in some of these other guys. Because, again, we've seen excellence from Rowan Wick for the most part. Tonight was really his first bad game he's had in quite some time. So
yep.
I take that with a grain of salt. Shit happens. It's going to happen eventually. Pitchers are going to get beat up. It's just a fact of life at this point as a big leaguer.
It sucks. It sucks. No, not to cut you off. It sucks, though, because, like, people are going to look at this outing and say Rowan Wick sucks. Like, see, this is Rowan Wick. And, not acknowledging the fact that he has had, like you just did, he has had good outings leading up to this. So I still want to hold out hope for Rowan Wick to turn around again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you on Rowan Wick there. And continuing on, and I don't want to rush through this game, Joey, but I don't know if you can see our comment section. There's some things I want to talk about because I forgot there's a new MLB pipeline drop that we should address and discuss a little bit here on the show. So not to rush through everything with this game. Obviously, we're excited the Cubs won. But let's get to the goodies with the bats here tonight, right? Because PJ Higgins had an RBI tonight. That was cool and tough. Nelly V, literally missed a 3-run shot by a foot, maybe, off that left field wall early in the game with the double. And then Nico Horner, 3-hit game for him, cool and tough. 3 for 4 for him. He's up to 306 average now. You'll love to see that. But Joey, it is time. It is time, my friend, to discuss the Franimal. Because when the Franimal eats, it's a Fran meal. And son of a bitch, he did it again. Pokes a little ball to the opposite field early in the game for a single. You love to see him hitting again opposite field. The guy who's notoriously a pull hitter hitting opposite field.
That ball.
And then that fucking bomb he hit. I encourage anybody listening to this right now. Go to yesterday's show. You can find the highlight. We tweeted it from Cubs on Tap at Cubbies on Tap. Yeah, Jeremiah understands there. Franimal! Get excited about it, right? Like this dude is a physical fucking freakazoid. And here's why. That home run he hit, the freaking swing that he put on it, it didn't look like he was trying. That's the craziest part. If you watch it from the side view when they show the replay, it looks like he's just like flicking his wrists and that ball goes 400 and something fucking feet to the opposite field. It goes to right center. It wasn't even like he bowled it. It was just and again, I got to remind myself that he's literally built like some defensive ends in the NFL are now because he's 6'5", 265. He's a fucking unit of a human being. He's me, but 6 inches taller. Like, this dude is just so freaking strong. And I have to remind myself of how much of a fucking unit this guy is because the shit he does and just how effortless the power is just mind-boggling, Joey. Mind-boggling.
He would give Larry Borum or Tevin Jenkins, if you're a Chicago Bears fan,
Problems. Problems.
He would give them a run for their money because right now, I mean, this isn't the Bears on Tap show, but right now they have some questions with the offensive line.
Hey, but we ran that last night. I'm going to plug that real quick. Go listen to Bears on Tap.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And dude, he, like you said, flick of the wrist. The power is just insane. Going oppo. He's taking pitches off the inside plate too, or on the inside part of the plate, and going inside out and going oppo too. I mean, the home run was look a little bit outside actually off the plate.
It looked high. It was high. It was high and outside off the plate. That was the craziest part too. Like, that ball should not have done what it did unless you were that humanly strong. Like, if I tried to do that, it's a foul ball into the fucking seats. Like,
if we even touch it.
Speechless. Yeah, I'm speechless at the shit he's doing at the plate right now.
He is so fun to watch right now. Like, I can't help but get excited. Like, I love your energy right now with the Franimal because
Franimal.
Just scream it from the rooftop. Scream it. This dude, let him out of his cage. Let him out of his cage. The Cubs are apparently doing that. Yeah, man. I don't know. When the Franimal eats, that's a Fran meal. And they have turned a Happy Meal into a Big Mac. He's already a big freaking human. He's a big animal. When he gets a hold of the ball, I just think, Ron, like you said, he just flicked the wrist at that one to right. Just think when he actually connects with one. Because, like, if he put some strength into it, maybe this is the simplified approach, though, that, like, him working with the Johnny Washington, maybe this is the type of stuff where it's like, dude, you have so much power, you don't need to swing out of your shoes to hit a ball 400 feet. Mm-hmm. You just don't. You're going to hit it 415 feet just by connecting with the ball.
Yeah.
So maybe that's just some of the adjustments that he's making and trying. It's very obvious that he's making a conscious effort to go to the opposite field. So I love it, man. I don't know. I could sit here all day and talk about the Franimal right now.
The Franimal. I don't know. I get so excited about this dude. He's so fun. And Jeremiah dropping some heat in the comments here. He says, can't wait to see him at Wrigley. Agreed. I'll be there Friday. If he's not in the lineup, I might cry because I need to see him. I want to see him put a ball on Waveland so fucking badly. It's going to be incredible. And then he says, in a hypothetical, could he break Dave Kingman's record at Wrigley? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I really don't.
That's tough, but
that's a huge maybe. And then Scott here, Franimal versus Glenn Allen Hill. I'm taking Franimal, bro. I want to see him in BP, like at Wrigley, because we haven't seen him at Wrigley in BP yet. Like, I want to see this dude just hit. He literally probably could hit one onto the rooftop if he really tried. Like, you throw him a cookie, yeah, it's gone. Like, no doubt about it for a single second. But I mean, oh, dude, he's just so exciting. But like, again, there are these guys now on the team, and that has to give people some level of excitement because you have the youngsters, right? Let Nelly V swim, right? Morel gets fucking pulled again for fucking Rafael Ortega. Okay, sorry. Transition moment here really quick. I have a bone to pick. I know I have his jersey, but son of a bitch, I got a bone to pick with Rafael Ortega. What the fuck was that in extra innings? You know who doesn't make that base running blunder? Probably Christopher fucking Morel. That's who. The guy that you were brought into the game to pinch hit for. I don't understand what it is with Ross like in the pinch hit for Morel, especially with Ortega, because if you're going on the basis of Will Ortega's a lefty and he's a good defensive glove, I would argue Morel's just as good of a defensive glove in center field. Let's just call a spade here, right? Like the trademark Ron Luce saying, let's just call a spade, all right? Because I don't understand it. I'm starting to get frustrated to the point where, like, again, I'm thinking Moneyball here, Billy Bean shit. Get rid of him. If you're Jed, just get him off the fucking roster so Ross can't even put him in the game. And you know what? I would rather Ross have to try to find an excuse for, like, Ian Happ to go into center field instead of Rafael Ortega, right? Like, or you move Nelly V over. That's fine, whatever. But I would still rather see an Ian Happ in that situation if you're going to have somebody pinch hit for him than fucking Rafael Ortega. Like, I love Rafi. Got a special place in my heart for Rafi. But, like, it's that dumb shit on the fucking base paths. Because even with the sack fly from Willie, They should have at least had 2 outs and you still had a man in scoring position. No, instead Rafael Ortega runs himself into a fucking out. And it's getting to the point in the season, right, where like you make a mistake once, fine. Don't do it again. But like some of these guys just keep fucking doing it. And it's like, all right, if you just keep fucking doing it, you're done. Right? Because like it was some of these like I don't want to call them fringe guys, but it's been a lot of these fringe guys that have been making the fucking running blunders. Like there's been, I can think of 4 plays in the last like 3.5 weeks of Ortega doing something I didn't like. Getting thrown out at home plate. I remember that one. Yeah, remember that one real fucking well. You know who probably scores on that play? Christopher Morel. Like it's just, I had to breathe. I need to breathe a little bit. I need to come back down, but like. It's just that was the frustrating shit about tonight's game too, right? Like it's that type of stuff. It's the bullpen just pissing away a lead, right? Like it's there's a famous quote, Joey, by you know, this is gonna absolutely throw me for a loop here. This is gonna kill me. What is it? Frankie V, right? You know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
The Courage Award gave the greatest speech. Somebody in the comments for the please help me. You know who I'm talking about.
I remember the speech, dude. It was very
He says a full day of living.
I love
you
this
laugh, you cry, you know, and you think, right? Son of a bitch, this Cubs team makes me laugh, makes me cry a fuck ton, and makes me think a lot, and it's usually just absolutely mind-rattling thoughts half of the time when they do dumb shit like this. And I hate to take such a great quote and spin it into something as a travesty as the Cubs are at times. Yes, Jimmy V, thank you.
Exactly,
I wasn't too fucking off. Jimmy V at the SBs. Thank you, Scott from Iowa. You are a fucking gem. But like that's like how this team makes me feel, right? Like you go through every emotion in a Cubs game. And again, they got the win tonight. I'm at the end of it happy, but like boy, we rode the roller coaster on the way to that win. You know what I mean?
Laugh, you cry, have some sort of thought, right? Is that what you said? That was like, that was the quote. I remember it was such a. I've watched that speech back so many times, dude. It's just an amazing speech.
Top 10 speech of all time. That one's up there. There's a couple other ones from the ESPYs that are like rewatchable. Like
Scott.
Yeah. They're so good you can rewatch them over and over and over again and never get sick of them.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up, though. That's what this team feels like, really. I like that point a lot. That's a great metaphor for this thing. It's laugh, cry, or like, like some sort of thought. Like, what are we thinking here? What are they thinking, you know? And Rafael Ortega is just getting towards the end of the road where it's like, I love what he provided the team last year when it comes to – he was fun. He was fun. The second half of the season, I was – Rafael Ortega, and you have his jersey, and all this stuff was a lot of fun. You know what I mean? It was fun. Schwindel, Frank Schwindel, Patrick Wisdom, like all that stuff was awesome towards the end of the year last year because we had nothing else, and they were just fun players to watch and root for. Right. And it was like, wow, it's a surprise. Now you're getting to the end of the road. It seems like where Jed, you might have to take this decision out of Ross's hands. Like you said.
To the end of the road.
Closing time. Yeah, it's
right? Like play whatever song you want to play in that scenario. Like that, I agree with you. That is exactly where it's getting to, right? And like I saw, I think it was Jeremiah here in the comments. It was, I'm not going to pull it up on the screen, but I'll read it out loud. He says, "Hear me out, cut Ortega, call up Mervis." And we're going to talk about that kind of here in a second with the MLB pipeline re-rankings. But yeah, you know what? Why not? Why not give a guy like that a shot over Rafael Ortega? Do you really see a future of Rafael Ortega on this roster where DFAing him isn't the worst thing in the world? Because no offense to Rafi, but at this point in the season, I don't think anybody's picking him up. You might be able to send him to Iowa and still have organizational depth if that's what you're worried about. You know what I mean? Like, because truthfully, if we're being bluntly honest right now, Joey, can't even talk because I'm so fired up. Like, the only reason they haven't DFA'd him yet is because, like, the MLB-ready outfield depth isn't quite there. That's it.
That's what they say. And that's how – and I know there's a 40-man decision to make here, but I still want to see West Virginia University product, Darius Hill.
Yeah, or Narcisco Crook, who's absolutely killing it at AAA. There's your outfielder.
I think, like, even if they're not ready, Ron, like, here's the thing. You're going to have to decide one way or the other in the offseason whether you're going to make some trades or you're going to put them on the 40-man.
And then you're 40-man decisions, yeah.
So you can try to pass them through, but the way that these guys are performing in the minors this season, it's going to be hard to pass all these guys through if you don't put them on the 40-man. So I really believe that you might as well just give some of these guys a shot. And, you know, even if you believe, like, they might – this 100% correct on your part, or like you're thinking there, they might really believe they're just not ready yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
But is Rafael Ortega ready? Like, he seems like a quad A at this point.
Totally fair. And I love this is why we love Scott Smiley. He says, horseshit, the Iowa Cubs have 2 to 3 outfielders ready. And you know what? But again, like, Narcisco Crook is a perfect example of that. He's been lighting it up at AAA lately. Like, give him another. I don't know how old he is. I don't want to say kid because he might be as old as I am. But like give him another shot. At this point, I'd rather see him over Rafael Ortega. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I think that's what it is. And even this, Scott, he said it's about service time. Is it though anymore? Didn't they abolish that in the new?
With these guys,
And with these guys, like, not a shot at Narcisco Crook, but like, I don't think they're worried about that with Crook. I think they're more worried about that with guys like PCA or guys like Brennan Davis, who is still technically kind of hurt, even though he's back in playing action now. He's down in the ACL. Which is great to see that he's back and he's taking live at bats. He's playing DH right now. They're working him back. It's fine. But like Narcisco Crook should get a look. Like, at this point, get him up here. Like you said, Hill, get him up here, right? Like, look what they had to do with Dixon Machado. They had to trade him because they knew they weren't going to be able to keep him on the 40-man. Like, with some of these guys that, like you said, are on that brink, let them have a tryout down the stretch here, because then you understand, do we keep this guy on the 40-man or do we let him walk, or do we expose him to the Rule 5 draft? Like, that are the questions that they have to ask, and it's certainly something there. Joey, I don't know if you have any further thoughts on that point or any further thoughts on this game in general, but I am going to turn the floor back over to you here. Before, again, we're not going to transition right into tomorrow's game because I do want to talk a little bit about the MLB Pipeline re-rankings before we kind of sign off for the night. So the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, not too many like final thoughts, I guess, on this game in particular, because it was just a wacky game, though. I guess I could have a ton of more thoughts on this game, but I also, like, doing the On Tap Bets show, there were periods there where I was like, I'm watching off to the side, I'm listening to what Jack's telling me, you know what I mean, I'm tracking the score. It was kind of a mess, chaotic for me tonight, but it's good to see them pull out a win. It's good to see Justin Steele just put his balls out on the table, balls of steel, and just shove, dude. That's just what he's been doing. He's just been shoving. That's just him, the Franimal, Seiya coming up with clutch hits. Kind of my final thoughts on the game. It's nice to pick up a win.
I'll echo what you had to say there. I think the guys that got me the most excited were the Franimal, Nico, and Justin tonight. They're my big three from this one. But Joey, let's talk prospect re-rankings here, and I feel bad for the people that have dropped off. They think we're talking about tomorrow's game already. Shame. But nonetheless, let's talk about it because it's big, and I know Scott dropped it in here, and that is the top 100 ranking. So I'll bring that up here in just a minute. But in the top 30 for the Cubs, I'm just going to read the top 10. I'll note some kind of meaningful guys that have fallen as well. But your top 10 is as follows. Number 1 is Pete Crow Armstrong. Number 2 is now Brennan Davis. Number 3 is Kevin Alcantara. Number 4 is Cade Horton, first-round draft pick of the Cubs this season. Number 5 is Jordan Wicks. Number 6 is Christian Hernandez. Number 7 is Ben Brown. Nice. Boy, they got for David Robertson at the deadline. Jackson Ferris, the Cubs' second-round pick, is number 8. Alexander Canario is now number 9. And Owen Casey is now number 10. Notables that dropped out of the top 10. James Triantos now just on the outside at 11. DJ Hers is now 13. Caleb Killian is now 14. Ed Howard has dropped all the way down to 20. Hard to fare that against him because he's been hurt all season. Kevin Made has now slid up to 17. That's notable. Porter Hodge has made his way into the top 30. Matt Mervis as well. He is now number 21. Luis Devers is also now in the top 30. He is at 26. Cole Franklin is now at 29. Drew Gray is at 30. That Luke Little has moved up now to 27. Our boy Juice got to see him pitch a little bit tonight at Foreman's Field. Christopher Paciolo, the 3rd-round pick for the Cubs. The shortstop is now number 24 in the system. And then Nazir Mule, who is the Cubs' 4th-round pick. He is number 23. So those are some of the big ones. Guys like Pinago and Ballesteros and Wisniewski and others are still up there. And I encourage everybody to go check that out. And then bringing up the comment here from Scott from Iowa. He says, per voice of Cohen, PCA is now number 31 in the top 100. Brennan Davis is 51 in the top 100, and Calvin Alcantara is now 91. So those are your 3 top 100 prospects in this re-ranking, for the Cubs system tonight. So a lot of shit that I just said there, Joey. Obviously, a lot of people have moved around. I really want to, and I'm going to do my absolute best. People, please bear with me. My day job's whooping my ass this week. But I really am going to try and write kind of a who's moved and who's the biggest surprises type article for OnTapSportsNet.com this week, as I did that, I believe, last season when there was a big re-ranking as well. But Joey, just your initial thoughts from some of these names. Anybody that really stood out to you? I've got it like 2 guys that I really want to focus on here, and then just one kind of general thought as well about these re-rankings. But I want to give you the floor first in case we're on the same page about somebody.
Yeah, I think we probably are, but I'll leave that for a second because the one notable I feel like we should mention, Braylon Marquez is outside the top 30. He dropped off, and that's to be expected, to be honest. I was wondering when he was going to drop off, and I know they don't update him until certain points in the season, but you just can't rely on him at this point. And it's sad, but he'll probably work his way back up if he gets – back up to a level where he's going to be making some noise here, even at the big league level. Or he's gonna have to take some time though to get himself ready and get healthy, obviously. But Braylon Marquez being outside of that, we have a new number 1 catcher, Moises Ballesteros over Miguel Amaya, which is exactly how I would have put it, because man, that dude just looks powerful. He looks like the real deal. I don't know, Amaya's defense, I think. He's not playing defense right now because of the injury, but he is DHing. But he's looked pretty solid. But I think his defense isn't really that much of a question. It's the hitting, and I think Ballesteros has obviously got a ton of growth to do. He's very, very early on in his stages, but it's pretty cool to see him and his progress that he's made. So I like that. Obviously, Matt Mervis, we were wondering when he was going to crack. He's cracked it now. That's pretty cool. I guess we can go look towards the top more. Pete Crow Armstrong being number 1 over Brian Davis. Not really a surprise there, to be honest, for me. I think the trajectory that PCA was on, adding the power was the huge part. His defensive center field is MLB ready now. The contact was there. It was about health. The reason why the Cubs were able to steal him from the Mets, and the fact that the power's really like he's hitting no doubters right now, and clutch hits, and he still has, the big upside on the base paths as far as stealing bases too, which Brennan Davis could as well. So you got the power speed element with him with some solid defense. But if he's a corner outfielder piece and PCA's in center field, 1-2, you're feeling pretty good. I honestly probably would have put Alcantara with his upside maybe above Brennan Davis at this point. And I don't know if that'd be a hot take. I don't know. I'd probably put Alcantara at second. I put Brennan Davis at third. Just the upside alone with Alcantara, I think, is just through the roof. But Cade Horton.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, we like talking food, so let's put a spicy meatball out there. Horton, man, I don't know. I'm a little surprised by that. I kind of want to turn it back over to you. I think Horton, might be a little bit higher than I would personally put him with the guys on this list, and lower than the guy that I don't think James Triantos is the 11th best prospect on this team. Or in this system. I think he's at least. I'd at least put him at probably 8. I'm not gonna lie.
Isn't that a good problem, though, Joey? If James
Great.
Triantos is your 11th best prospect in the roster or in the system right now?
It's a great problem. And I think what hurts him the most is the athleticism part of it, which I think he's still a damn good athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I watched this guy dunk basketballs, like throw it off a backboard and dunk basketballs on a video. Like he's an athlete. Nothing taken away from that. The bat to ball skills are completely there, and he's only going to get better with time. The power is the one thing, the in-game power in particular, because I think he has the strength, and he's only going to add more strength. But I think the in-game power is something that you're really, really like waiting for him to kind of unleash, and that's a big reason for his move down because you have the power bats like Canario jumping him. Owen Casey looks great, obviously. Christian Hernandez too with the power he possesses. I think that's the big reason there because contact hitters and power pitchers, like even comparing the power pitching that the Cubs have added, it's tough to really move him above those guys. Personally, though, I love James Triantos, and you know that. So I want him just a little bit higher. But what do you think, Ron?
No, I like a lot of your thoughts, and I think we are on the same page with a couple of guys, but there actually some of the guys I was going to point out are guys that you didn't touch on a ton. So I think that's good. We'll have a little bit of balance here in this discussion. I want to just quickly generalize. Actually, I want to get to a couple of comments here because some of these comments are sensational. You guys have been rocking it tonight. We certainly appreciate it. Jeremiah jumping in here. He says, saw Owen Casey at Fort Wayne last week. His hair glows in the sun. I couldn't help but share that comment. That's a good one. Lil Yumper, we haven't seen you in a while. What's up, friend? Moises was a huge international signing a few years ago. He was, referring to Ballesteros. Yes, he was. He was a big timer. I mean, he's only 18. He's going to get better, again. And I think that to your argument, too, and hold on. I'm going to hold my argument here. Scott rooting for his Iowa boy says Mervis is too low, should be higher. I mean, the dude has absolutely ranked. Like, the numbers are there, right? There's no denying the numbers of what he's done across 3 levels of minor league baseball this season. I mean, he went from beginning of the year in South Bend all the way to he's already in Iowa. Like, that's incredibly hard to do unless you are just legitimately raking across all levels. And then I do like this, Jeremiah. Thank you for dropping this. He goes, we got the power, we got the speed, and I agree. It certainly feels that way in the system. But to your point about James Triantos, I think just to quickly round out your thought there, and I'll get to a couple of my other thoughts. But he's only 19, right? Like, I think that's what a lot of people lose sight of. He's still young. He's gonna get bigger. He's gonna put on more strength. This is really going to be the first full offseason after a full year of pro ball for him, too. So now he's going to know what he needs to do to get stronger. Now he's going to be working with the Cubs staff extensively. I know he was last season as well, but that's another offseason under your belt. Like, I could honestly see a scenario where at 20 years old next year, James Triantos comes out and just like goes from Myrtle Beach to like Tennessee by the end of the season and starts turning some heads. I think it's completely plausible. So I feel you there, Joey. I think, again, good problem if he's your 11th best prospect. But I think there's a lot of interesting movement here. One I want to generalize is the 2 top arms that they took in the draft. I think they're both very high. I think Horton arguably is. I think if I was going to argue between Ferris and Horton, I would argue that Ferris should be ranked higher than Horton. I don't think either one of them should be in the top 5. And that's just my personal thoughts. I know they really value the draft guys and things like that. And who knows? Cade Horton could hear this clip someday and spit in my face. And you know what? If I'm wrong, good. That's fine. I'll happily be wrong. But again, I think just a little high this early in the re-rank, right? We haven't even seen these guys yet in any level of pro ball. I would be fine with them jumping onto the list maybe after the season if they get a little taste of, a couple starts at South Bend, kind of like what Jordan Wicks did last season. Like, I would be okay with it then. But neither here nor there. Big guys I want to talk about really quick. I'm actually going to stay away from the top 5 because I think overall, besides Horton, I think the top 5 is nice. I like Wicks. I like Alcantara. I like Davis. I like Crow Armstrong. Love Canario getting love, moving all the way up to 9. I mean, leads the system in terms of power, 29 homers. He only hit 7 of those, mind you, at high A ball. Like, he's hit 22 home runs. Sure, he's hitting 250. I think it's like 257 right now over the course of all levels. But, like, you give me a guy that's hitting 250 to 260 with effectively 30 homers at this point in the season, yeah, that plays. Did you see the home run of his ball that he hit tonight?
I haven't yet. No.
Oh, okay. We tweeted it from Cubs on Tap. I got to give a shout out to, I believe his name's Matt Miller. He's an MILB guy that follows us. We finally followed him back. I don't know why we weren't following him. That's on me. But he tweeted a highlight, and it was perfect because it was the actual highlight from the game where they kind of like left the camera in left field for a minute. And you see all the people in the home run porch looking for the baseball because it hadn't fucking landed yet. This thing is an absolute piss missile and a half, dude. You'll have to watch the highlight when we're done here. I promise you, you'll get excited. The dude's power is undeniable. And I like this comp. Jeremiah says, Canario's swing looks a lot like Vlad Jr.'s.
Wait. Was that from tonight, you said? Okay, Canario. You were talking about Canario, right? Because he hit one, was it yesterday that I posted? Dude.
No, I think that was a different one.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Dude's just hitting moonshots left and right. I mean, he is so impressive right now with the power. Like, that's a guy I'm happy to see is getting his due and he's only 22. Like, he's at AA. He's hitting for power. I think there's a very good chance that as long as he continues to hit the power, I think they'll deal with the average a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think you could see him in Iowa to start the year next year, and there's a very good opportunity that we see him in Chicago at some point in 2023. I don't think that's completely out of the question by any means. But a couple other guys, just really quickly, I want to mention here. I like Luis Devers jumping on the list. I think that's a safe one. I like Chase Strumpf staying on the list because I think he's had a quietly good season and nobody's talked about him because he was one of the guys, right, that was like a part of that original top 10 and then they overloaded with talent and he fell into the teens and 20s. But he's maintained. He's stayed on the list. He's producing. He's doing really nice things this year. Maybe not the top prospect numbers that once upon a time we hoped he would have, but again, it's a second-round draft pick out of UCLA when he was taken by the Cubs a handful of years ago. I think 2019, as a matter of fact. I mean, he's doing good things. The one guy I really want to outline, though, like really, really, really want to outline, is Ben Brown.
Oh yes,
at number 7. You're telling me you got in a farm system that, unless you're the ding dongs over at ESPN, most people have the Cubs at minimum in the top 10 as a farm,
exactly.
You're telling me for a 37-year-old David Robertson, the Cubs got a top 7 arm who's 6'6" and throws like high 90s? Are you fucking shitting me? That shit plays. Those are the type of deadline moves that you look back on in a couple years and go, son of a bitch, that worked out really well, right? Like, I know the guy turned out to be a scumbag, but like, I think that's what the Justin Marja trade was for a lot of people because that yielded Addison Russell, who at least for 2 seasons looked like he was going to be the freaking, the future at shortstop. Like that's what we all thought. But he helped them win a World Series. He was a big part of that team. He had like 97 ribbies that season. He hit it in the 5-hole a lot. Like that's a big deal on a team that was loaded with talent. But I just think it's those type of moves at the deadline. And again, for everybody that was like, they should have traded Willie and they should have traded Happ and they could have gotten so much. Well, whatever. You still got a top 10 prospect in your – and then Wesneski, the other big arm you got, is number 12 on this latest re-ranking. So you got 2 top 15 prospects in your top 10 system in baseball for 2 rentals. Well, Efros wasn't a rental, but Robertson was. And Brown is the higher of the 2. So you could argue, okay, we developed a guy like Scotty Efros. He has a lot of control, sure, but we turned him around for a kid that's a lot younger with starter potential. Cool. But then you also went and took Daniel Robertson, or David Robertson, or I miss him already, but Robertson. You go and take him, and you turn, again, a guy who really hasn't pitched much the last few years because he's older and had to recover from Tommy John. He comes into your camp kind of late, mind you. That like signing went under the radar for a little bit at the beginning of the year. Nobody knew where his role was going to be. And then he comes out, he's the closer. I had him in fantasy baseball. I still do. Like, kind of, I don't want to call it a miracle season, but a very like, holy shit kind of season out of a guy like Robertson. And you turn that into a 6'6" unit of a starting pitcher potential prospect who's now number 7 in your top 10 farm. Yeah, that's cool and tough. And as Jeremiah says, it's Jed's league, and I fucking love it. Love it. And Will Yumper says Chase, another guy. Hope we see him soon. I think we might see Chase Strumpf before the year's over. I really do. I think he'll kind of come out as like a Morel guy, where like he gets called up and everybody's like, "Huh."
Yeah,
And then like if he
it's
plays
not
well,
highly
everybody's gonna
ranked.
be like, "Huh." So, but yeah,
He's had some power too, like you said. Like the power's been flashing this year. So I don't want to cut you off at all. I think you're making like so many great points there, man. Like when you talk about Ben Brown, I'm just looking at the list here. Like Ben Brown being up that high, like it's remarkable that Hurts and your boy Caleb Killian, who I think we still all believe, like if he figures out the control again, which is what he was known for,
right.
Like there's just so much upside here. I probably like Ben Brown. I think I agree that he's better than Wes Nesky at this point. And Jackson Ferris. That's cool though, man. Like all these arms coming up there. DJ Hurts, I think, is probably still getting slept on, maybe a little bit. I think arm, being a lefty like he is, and just the disgusting stuff that he has, I think he's being slept on just a hair. But this system, man, it's so deep. It is so deep, and I think people really need to familiarize themselves. People that aren't Chicago Cubs fans like we are, people that are looking at it and saying, "Oh, what do the Cubs have? They don't have top-ranked prospects." I think that's a matter of who's doing the ranking. I think sometimes people look at it and they want to look for that big high future value. But if you have a lot of guys who are just going to be really, really good, and maybe not like top echelon, top 10 players in baseball, if you have just a ton of those guys that are just going to be really good ball players, you have a really good team.
Yeah, and then you know what you do when you do need that superstar? You go fucking pay for them because you're able to develop talent to fill holes no matter what. So I'm right there with you. Just really quick on Chase Strumpf, speaking of his big offensive numbers this year. So his minor league totals in terms of average have hovered around the same over the course of his career. He's hitting 241 right now. His best season was 244 in his rookie year, his first year in pro ball. So he's been a 230s to 240s kind of guy. But this year, an 851 OPS, the slugging's there. He's slugging 476 with a 375 on base. He's got 19 doubles, 18 homers, and 45 ribbies. I mean, those are respectable numbers, and he's a guy that can play both third and second. So he's got positional versatility, and he has value at a position that many of us said Cubs don't have a lot of depth at, is those corner infield spots. Well, now you got guys like James Triantos who could be a third baseman. You got guys like Christopher Morel who could play third. You got guys like Chase Strumpf who can play third. You got guys like Matt Mervis who can play first. Like now all of a sudden you're like, maybe this system's a little more balanced than everybody thought it was. Granted, they still have a shit ton of outfield depth. I think that's probably that middle infield are probably still their strongest suits, which is good because you got to build from the middle out in baseball, really in any sport, but in baseball especially. I really think like there's so much going for this system right now. Again, if we're sitting here bitching about guys like James Triantos falling outside the top 10, that's usually a good thing.
It's a great thing. Like I said, I have no issues with him falling out because I see the reasons behind it. I just I think that's like you said.
Oh no! Don't freeze on me now, Joey. Don't freeze on me now, Joey. We might have lost Joey. I'm going to remove him from the stream here until he unfreezes for a hot second. Pardon me, everybody, as we have some technical difficulties. Oh, he's back now. Okay, there you are. What happened?
I have no idea.
You froze on me.
Internet.
Go back to your thought.
Internet. Yeah, I don't even know what I was saying. Triantos, I shouldn't say it like it's a bad thing that he moved down. I don't want to say it's a good thing that he moved down either, but like you said, that just speaks to the amount of talent that is now here, the influx that has been brought in. And, we're getting the taste. We say it all the time. We're getting the appetizers, as Juice likes to say. We're getting the garlic bread. Now we need to start seeing some pasta. We need to start seeing some sugo with the garlic bread. Let the garlic bread play. But there's a lot of garlic bread coming through the system even at the bottom, like the 15 through 30 range. I think I find like very, very interesting to me because it's like those are a lot of guys, and some of those guys that have really shot out of nowhere like Devers and, et cetera. Even a guy like Estrada, who's not even on the list, I don't believe. Like Estrada's been just flamethrowing, and I think it's just because he's a reliever, the reason why he's not on the list. So I understand that one. But you're talking about replacing Scott Efros. You might replace him with an Estrada, and then you still have the Wesneskis to come up and be legit starters, which is more important to your ball club at the end of the day. You need those starters. So nothing against what Efros was doing, but it's fun, man. This is a fun time to be a Chicago Cubs fan. I know it's not fun every night when you watch the major league team play. I know they're going to make you scream and you want to punch things when Ortega makes a base running error or an error out in center field, or, McKinstry double clutches on when Fart Gas is running in the base running lane between second and third. You want to pull your hair out and you're grinding your teeth. But there are a lot of positive things here and a lot of things to be positive about, I should say. And like you said, you spend on a big bat this offseason, you spend on a big arm this offseason, and a nice supplemental bat, I think, and then some bullpen additions, possibly like one or two major league guys at least to help with the bullpen, and then possibly bring up some other bullpen arms. They're going to make more additions than that, but I think this team's heading on the right track. There's no question about it in my mind that we can be as sad as we want about the players that left here, which it sucks, right? Like, nobody wanted to see any of those guys go. And I think at this point, though, the best thing for us to do to not be depressed about it is to look forward and to look at it and say, hey, right now, I think this team is on the right track. Whether you think so or not, that, you don't have to agree with me or you don't have to agree with us. That's definitely not, just we can have difference of opinions. But you look at this farm system, and I don't care what Kylie McDaniel says at ESPN, it's not a below top 10. Like, in my opinion, it's top 3, and it's not 3.
That's a spicy take. That's a spicy meatball to end it, Joey. Yeah, man, I'm right there with you, and everybody's echoing it in the comments too. Lily Umper, Jeremiah Hartle, and Scott Crawford as well, saying the prospects are there, the capital's there. Sign, like you said, sign some guys, sign some meaningful bats or a meaningful arm or one of each. Maybe you trade for a guy. Maybe you're comfortable moving on from some of this prospect capital. Guys that maybe are high in your system that they're not sold on. You know what I mean? That you're a little more willing to part ways with. It's going to happen eventually. That's the whole point of having a loaded farm, is you can develop the guys you need to develop, and then you can trade the guys you need to trade. And I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see. And I think, Jeremiah Hartles in the comments, he said, who ranked this at number 18? It was the Kylie McDaniel or whatever over these.
Yeah. I didn't mean to name names like that, but sometimes it's
she did it herself. She attached it to her piece. So I mean, it is what it is. But nonetheless, again, like you said, we can have differing opinions. I think every Cubs fan has a differing opinion with what she said. But nonetheless, I mean, just a very interesting re-rank. Again, I'm going to try and take a stab at an article, hopefully this week, talking about it a little bit. Maybe Joey and I will collaborate on it a little bit as well. Who knows? We're going to get some stuff together. And also be sure to keep up with our Bulls guy, Rob. He's really been killing it on the minor league front in terms of, coverage and just, kind of his daily farm reports that have been really intriguing and really fun to watch so far. So, it's been awesome to see at this pace. But Joey, with the prospect talk, I'm sure we're going to return to it at some point this season. We'll definitely talk about it in the offseason again for sure. But let's look ahead to this series finale tomorrow in DC, because the Cubs have a chance to win their 4th straight series with a win against the Nationals tomorrow at Nationals Park in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday, August 17th. It is a 12:05 local time start. So as you're eating your lunch, Cubbies will be throwing the first pitch. Well, technically going to bat first, but you get it. 105 for those in the Eastern time zone, like our boy Juice. If you're listening, you know the drill. 670 The Score. If you're watching, Marquee Sports Network. And if you're in the DC market, it is WJFK 1067 The Fan. And they actually get to be on Maryland Area Sports Network 1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Upgrade. Look at them. They actually get to be in the first slot. And then out of market only, this will be on MLB Network tomorrow as well for those that are outside the DC and Chicago markets. On the mound for the Cubbies is left-hander number 11, Drew Smiley. He's 5-6 on the season with a, wait for it, 3.69 ERA. If you know, you know. If you know, you know, friends. But 3.69 ERA for Smiley. And then on the bump for the other side, as we mentioned already on the last two shows, it is Corey Abbott, the former Cubs minor league arm. Now the right-hander is 0-2 with a 5.94 ERA at this point. So, Joey, quick thoughts on tomorrow's game. How do the Cubs get a win? How do they get another series win in DC before a makeup game in Baltimore, and then they return to Wrigley for 3 against the miserable Brewers?
Let the Franimal eat. That's how they win, and keep pitching well. The starting pitching. Keep the starting pitching movement that we've been seeing lately. We've been seeing a lot of good outings from the starting pitching for the most part. Might run into some trouble there in the 5th or the 6th, but you're getting them through the 5-6 innings. We saw another dominant performance from Steele. Smiley's been really good. He has been really good.
Really good in the Field of Dreams game.
I think, and that's a big game. That's a big deal to these players. I mean, it might not look like it from a fan perspective when you're just watching this game and you're like, I mean, it's cool because it's obviously like the movie recreation and the big spectacle of the whole thing. But for those guys to go out there and play, I think all those players looked at it as like, wow, this is something we might never get a chance to do again. And like, how cool is this? We grew up watching this game and we can play here, and the stuff with our dads and all that. So Smiley to be able to go out there and pitch as well as he did, I think that speaks volumes to the place that he's in right now, because he's really throwing the ball well. I thought they could have gotten a decent piece for him, but they didn't, and he had that stinker right before the trade deadline. Neither here nor there. Corey Abbott, you let him throw pitches out of the zone. You work the count. You let him get himself into some trouble, maybe some nerves pitching against his former team. He's still trying to find himself in the big leagues. He has not been very good for the most part. I mean, the guy is walking 13.8% of batters as I'm looking at it here, with a strikeout rate of only 20%. He's not been pitching that well at the major league level. So I think you should be able to get to him. I think you'd be patient enough. You should be able to get to him. I don't think he's going to beat you with many of his pitches. I just never really thought he was that good, even as a prospect. I know some people will disagree with that, but I didn't think he was that great as a prospect in the Cubs system. So nothing against him, but yeah, I think let's get a series win though. Let's just get a series win. Let's continue to go that opposite field direction with the bats and get a solid outing from Smiley. Then hopefully the bullpen can shut it down like they did, like they couldn't tonight for the most part.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Right, like you said it too. They got past Josiah Gray, arguably the best pitcher the Nationals have right now. They got past him with yesterday's game. They don't have to see him anymore. They were able to beat up Corbin just enough tonight to get the lead, albeit, the bullpen pissing it away and creating drama. But, yeah, you got a guy that is struggling to find himself. He's not having the greatest season. Take advantage of that. This offense has been good. Another night where they score 4+ runs. We talked about it at length on yesterday's show. Another game where this offense has put up more than 4 runs. Keep it going. Keep it going. I want to see Franimal take him yard. I wanted all the good shit. That's just keep it going. Early one tomorrow. They got almost 24 hours until they got to play in Baltimore then. And then you have another almost 24 hours till you play at Wrigley, because it's a beautiful 1:20 start on Friday. So it'll be fun to see. Jeremiah here, just really quick, a comment about the Franimal. He says, LOL, we added the Franimal just for the one Baltimore game since they moved the wall back in left field.
Yeah, he can hit it out over that move back wall for sure.
Sure as fuck can. Hell yeah. So it'll be cool to see. But hell of a show, man. Again, Cubs win. What we like to see. Interesting talk on the prospect front. That's certainly a nice little sprinkle of something different here on a Cubs on Tap episode. And Joey, before we get out of here, I do want to remind everybody just quickly that Cubs on Tap is the official Cubs podcast of the On Tap Sports Network. You can check out all of our great work over at ontapsportsnet.com and at ontapsportsnet on social media. You can follow the pod specific accounts for us here at Cubs on Tap. We are at Cubbies on Tap. That's CUBBIES. That's Twitter and Instagram. I am at Loose on Tap on the Bluebird app. Joey is at Joey's Knows Nothing that ends in IN, because that stands for win, baby. The On Tap Bets guys are having some good bets tonight. Be sure to check that out. And also follow all of our other great co-hosts and contributors here on the Cubs side of the house at Juice on Tap. at Teddy Freddy 270, at Bulls Guy Rob, at Brandon MK, and they all do a great job for us here with the Cubs stuff. Bulls, Bears, Blackhawks, you know the drill. Bears on Taps, guys. We just recorded yesterday. You can check that out wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, as they play a freaking preseason game again on Thursday already. So things are moving quickly on the football front. The other sports coming back soon as well. Bulls on Tap also recorded today, so a new episode coming to you guys very, very soon. And again, you know the drill, Cubs fans. We all have friends like the Southsiders. Our boys at Sox on Tap do a great job covering the White Sox. So be sure to send them to your friends that are Sox fans over to our friends at Sox on Tap. Once again, ontapsportsnet.com and on Tap Sportsnet on social media, the On Tap Sports Network. Go ahead and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. Joey, it's always a pleasure, my friend, especially after a W. Good show overall tonight. We went a little long, but plenty of juicy content. We highly encourage everybody to, always listen to every show because we try to bring the juice. We try to have fun with it. But what do you say, my friend? We got a quick turnaround tomorrow. Let's get out of here the only way we know how.
Let the garlic bread play.
And let's go Cubbies.